I'm Ryan Benson.
I'm Josh Saunders.
I'm Dylan Boyd.
We are the PopCulturists, and we just went and saw Wonder Woman. And as always, Dylan, what's the movie about?
So, Wonder Woman is directed by Patty Jenkins, and it sees Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, or Diana Themyscira.
No way.
Yeah.
AKA Diana,
Yeah,
AKA
that's the
Diana
one.
Prince, AKA...
And she's
boy
grown
Wonder.
up amongst the Amazonian warriors in Themyscira, which is like this fantastical Roman-style island away from mankind. And then one day, Steve Trevor, a pilot for the British intelligence, crashes his plane on their island, and she discovers the world of men and decides to go out into the world of men and assist him in fighting the war, which is World War One.
And as always...
Chaos ensues.
All right.
Is that our thing?
That's it. Yeah,
I haven't been in too many movie reviews.
Yeah, every movie, when we openly discuss it, ends up with, when chaos ensues. Because
That's
a lot
what
of
the
the time
Internet Movie
it does.
Database synopsises are.
Chaos
And
ensues.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Let's kick things off. Josh, with its overall thoughts, nice and quickly.
So much better than any other DCEU movie that's come out so far. I mean, the benefit this movie had, I think, was just being a self-contained story, instead of it being like, and then there's this person's cameo, and then this person's
and
in
the
it.
Flash is here, and Captain Boomerang is here.
Yeah.
And there's the parademons for some reason. We
Yeah.
don't know the parademons yet.
You don't know who they are.
Yeah.
You don't know who that big Omega symbol is. It was just a self-contained... It was an origin story, yeah. But it wasn't convoluted. It was a simple plot. In the grand scheme of DC plots, it was a simple plot to a movie. And I think that's what really benefited it in a big way.
Dylan?
Yeah, it was really good.
And to hear Dylan say that about a DC movie...
Hey,
Means
I,
a lot.
I don't want to crap on these DC movies. If they're good, I'll give them that's good. And this was. It was very character driven. And I really liked Diana's journey from being this naive, innocent, sweet kind of person to like realizing what the real world is like and what being a hero means. And you can't win every war just by, stopping one person. It's the world out there that is the real kind of enemy, and you've got to come to terms with that. People are different. So there's a good moral to it. And overall, yeah, it was really, really good.
I think it was fucking fantastic. I really enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. I had a lot of cynicism coming into this movie.
I think we all did, and I think that's well deserved at this point.
Yeah, and I get it came from the track record of what we've known Warner Brothers and DC to do at this point. I also, look, to be honest, I had the full cynicism of maybe this is getting extra points simply because there's a woman leading it, and it's a woman-based story, but that's not the case at all. This movie deserves, granted, we're seeing this after all the critics and etc. have seen it, so it's looking. The scores are out there and it's looking really good, and it deserves every point that it's been given. I think it was great. I think Gal Gadot. We'll get into more specifics soon, but I think she did an excellent performance. I think she was really quite convincing, quite good. Like she did have such a good demeanor, and it's demonstrate. I think the wrong wording, but that demonstration of innocence.
She got a really childhood naive innocence to the movie.
And to this movie as well, it did in some ways show the horrors of war. I thought that was very interesting, and I really liked it.
So, as we were going into the movie, we all met up out the front, and you were in a really, really
I've had a
bad
really
mood.
shit
You've had
day.
a really bad day.
Yeah.
You said maybe 4 words to us before the movie started, and it picked you right back up. It picked you, it got you back to normal Ryan for a little bit, and that was good. What I really liked, the DC movies so far have been so focused on big set pieces and explosions and this building's falling over and it hit another building and that building's fallen into space and fuck whatever.
And there's a beam from the sky
There's a
that
beam from the
destroys
sky
everything.
on the other sides of the world that do a
And if you do want to see our opinions on those movies, you can see our links below to the Superman review and our Suicide Squad review.
But this movie, it held back on all of that a lot. So when something big did happen, you felt it, and it seemed like a big deal. It wasn't just, oh, there's another building that's toppled over. It was, fuck.
Not the buildings didn't topple over.
No, there was plenty of destruction, but it did focus more, like you said, on the grounded kind of reality of war, and you saw a lot of... You were in the trenches for a little while, and you were going across no man's land, and you saw... you saw what happens to these little farmer villages in the midst of a war, and that really kind of grounded the movie a lot, despite being a superhero movie. Then all of a sudden there's a golden lasso whipping across the screen, doing whatever.
Like there were certainly the moments where it got ridiculous and crazy. That was when there was superhero moments. Outside of that, it kept a very real character story, as you sort of talked about. Well, let's talk about the story in general. So I think the story was really quite interesting. There's a twist there which I sort of didn't see coming because I didn't really look too much into this movie going in. I was like, yeah, this character's gonna be this character, that person's gonna be that person.
He's the bad guy.
That's probably the bad guy. She's probably going to be this. I'm going to get annoyed at that character. I know. I can tell from the trailer. But there were a couple of twists and turns in there that kind of threw me, and I was really quite... Not threw me in like a... Oh! But in like a... Oh, shit. All right, cool.
They did stay pretty damn faithful to the source material.
Yeah, we'll mention that. Like, I don't consider that spoilers because it's comic. You know, like they've explained that Diana's origin in this is she was born of clay with the power of Zeus. She was born alive, which is like a bizarre idea for an origin. So credit to these guys. I don't know who wrote this,
and especially in the world of superheroes, it's a... You know, you fell into chemicals, or you know, you were born super.
Like one of the, like when on paper, if someone goes, she was made of clay and Zeus made, like that's dumb. But in this, like they didn't. Really, they kind of went, she's made of clay. She's the gods kept her alive. Okay, moving on.
I thought they just did a really good job of integrating actual Norse gods into the mythology of the DC universe.
Because now the DCU, we now know that magic exists. We now know that gods exist. Magic coming from Enchantress and
Suicide Squad. Yeah, we've seen that. Whatever unfortunately.
That was. The hula dance, the power.
What did you think about just the story, the plot as a whole?
I think it moved very quickly. Like
in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Like kept the pace of the movie.
Yes, I think pacing was really quite solid in this. There was
an urgency to it. And it was only until they had that
I'm wearing the worst
moment.
underpants right now.
There was a quiet moment towards about the 3/4 mark where it really slowed down and it felt like it took a breath.
Yep.
And it was really refreshing. The start was speedy, like when she was a little girl, introduced that. There was a kind of a voiceover that didn't feel too over the, like, on the nose exposition because she was telling a story, but you get the idea of Zeus and Ares and all these things that are involved in the story that'll play out later. Then she's like 12 years old for like all of one scene, and then it becomes Gal Gadot, and then very quickly the story kicks in.
Yep.
So it was a good transition. You got enough of the idea. I didn't get much idea of like what they do when they're not training.
Piss farting around.
That's like, what they do. That's what
they're
they
very
do.
Like, you know, we don't want you to fight Diana. You know, you're meant for other things. And what else are we going to do? Like, there's not much to do. I haven't seen anything else on this island.
Because I'm by definition Amazon the warrior race.
Yeah, exactly. So. Everybody else is fighting.
Yeah.
And then then the war stuff came along, and that moved swiftly, and it was, they had that contrast of like the beautiful bright Themyscira and then the dark greys, but it was more like Saving Private Ryan dark greys than DCEU.
Yeah, they did it was really good from going from Themyscira to the real world as we know it. Like the visual, the tonal shift in the setting was fantastic.
See, watching this and with that initial scenes at Themyscira, where it's right, like those blues and really vibrant greens, and it makes me can't wait till this comes out on Blu-ray and I can watch it with HDR. You know what I mean? Like I'll pick this up at that 4K Blu-ray for some reason. Like I'll buy that and be like this, and it's gonna look shit hot. Like it's gonna be so good.
But what did you think of the performances?
Performances were pretty great all around. I with the introduction of Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman in BVS, I wasn't in. Her scenes were cool, but as for her performing as a character, I was like, but mind you, she wasn't given much to really work with either. But like we said before, she brought this real, as she's realizing how the real world actually is, the confusion, like she portrayed just genuine childish confusion on her face. Like, what do you mean? Like, unable to comprehend the themes of the plot. You know, all this stuff's happening, and she's just, why? And she really, really brought that in, like, really, really well. And Chris Pine as Steve Trevor was awesome. He had some really cool, like, one-liner quips and stuff, and he was real sharp and real, obviously, charming and all that as well. But, you know, he really was a hero, and as much of a hero as a human, a mortal man can be in this big grand universe of superpowers.
He wasn't just an average man.
No, he wasn't just an average man. He was above average man. He brought it, and it was really good. And then the side character, they didn't get a lot of material, but for what they had, they did. It was fine. There wasn't anyone that came in and delivered their lines, and I was like,
Yeah, no one was stiff.
Yeah.
See, like, I was in the same boat as you. One woman stood out in BVS as really quite cool, but I didn't think when she rocked up, like, you're a badass, I can tell. And like, there are little moments in BVS when she gets thrown back by Doomsday and she's like, whoa. And I'm like, you fucking love this shit. And like those little moments help define what we knew of her character at the time. But now, like, those little moments are fleshed out, and the benefit of this movie and how it's portrayed, it really allows you to learn a lot about Diana as a character. And I think the benefit of not everyone knowing the true story, like, the true story of her, allows people to go in this movie a little bit more different. Like, everyone knows Batman, everyone knows Superman. Like, we've seen enough of it to be like, well, that's not Superman.
Yeah.
Well, this is Wonder Woman. Okay.
Or Batman's at the point. It's like, you're gonna show Martha.
Yeah, like we're gonna
Wayne dying
we're gonna
again,
see,
Martha and Thomas again.
Wayne's die. Beep. This was like, I think she brought such, as you mentioned, such an innocence to looking at this world, and I think she did have a somewhat regalish appearance. Like, she stood out compared to everybody else. When she walked down like the streets of London, everyone's looking, and she just stands out. Like, she radiates this just godly presence. And I think.
I'm gonna pull this back.
I think she was great. I think she was really, really good. As I'm watching this, I'm going, yeah, no, you were the right pick. Yeah. Like, more and more, I'm like, you were the right pick.
What I got as well in terms of performances is a lot of the time the superhero movies fail at the relationship side of things. Like, you think of what we saw in Man of Steel of Clark and Lois. It was really forced and it wasn't organic. And I bought Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. I bought their relationship in this movie, despite it being just the one movie we've seen them in. I was in. I felt it. I was like, I get it. I can see how he's trying to be the protector of the one who could, like, crush him with her pinky finger. But he took it on himself to, like, bring her into the world and try to integrate her and try to keep her on a leash where she needed it. And
that is the credit to how this movie is written. And as like, I'm gonna keep mentioning Dylan because, like, Dylan said it first, but like, this is a character movie, and because it's written and addressed as a character movie rather than a movie with a bunch of action scenes with shit written in them, like, you get to feel the emotion. Like I said, I'll let you talk about what you think of Chris Pine and Gal Gadot, and I'll talk about a bit of supporting characters.
Yeah, well, like everything you said about Gal Gadot is right. She also has, like you were saying, radiance, like this warmth to her. When she rarely does she smile, and when she does, it's really glowing and cheerful, and she's more like a muse than like a sex symbol. She brings this joy to people. Yeah,
yes.
And that works into the mythology as well.
Excellent phrasing there.
Thank you. But yeah, and even then, like, she's very stern and very headstrong in what she believes. So when things don't go the way that she thinks they are, she's just baffled. But she's so confident in what she believes is going to happen, right or wrong, towards the end, that it's really endearing. There's a lot of fish out of water situations that she's in where, like, she's not aware of the customs. What she knows is different to what they know.
She's never seen a dick.
Where she walks,
there's a whole scene around her never seeing a dick before.
There's some almost dicks. When she goes into the war room where they're all having a discussion in the court, and then when she's has that meeting and she steps out and she's just going off at him in the stairwell, and he's like, women shouldn't be yelling at this time and talking to people like that. And she's just so good at the frustration she's feeling. Like, what the hell? Like, generals are going to sit there and do nothing? Shame on you. Shame on all of you. Is so good. But not to take anything away from Gal Gadot, but Chris Pine carried a lot of the movie. Like, without him in it, without them together as a great duo, if Chris Pine wasn't in it, or if that role wasn't so strong, the movie would fail. Like, he showed like he's got that cocksure Captain Kirkness to him, but he also had a humanity of like, look, I don't know what a real family's like, I don't know what a real life's like, I'm just here fighting this war because it's what I got to do, and I don't know if we're going to win and I don't know if we're going to lose, but I've tried doing nothing and now I'm going to try and do something. So the two of them together are incredible. Yeah, like because them together in the story, because you understand World War One and then how it plays out, and you know what the future's going to be. So it's really enforcing the characters and how she's discovering that. That made it really good. But then there's the villains who are just like, I'm a villain, I'm doing things, I do the villain job. And then there's the other villain, and you're like, okay, now you're doing the superhero stuff. But yeah, that's what I thought. And this, like I said, the supporting characters had their quirks, they had a few one-liners. I think Slipknot was in there again. I wasn't sure if that was Slipknot or not.
That wasn't Slipknot.
Okay, whatever.
Well, if it was, Slipknot got more screen time. But I want to talk about the sort of merry men, right?
Just quickly before we move on from that, the movie as a whole, if you took Wonder Woman and the superhero stuff out of it, it would be just really above average war movie. Yeah. Like that movie would actually stand as it is, as just a really good movie, not an Oscar movie.
And then it'd get weird at the end.
Yeah, and then because it's just one guy fighting nothing because we took one woman out of it.
Because we took.
But I want to talk quickly about their merry men. They're sort of like whatever the hell they called them in this. Like, I thought they were really interesting side characters, but like they didn't get a lot of time. But you got enough of who they were,
and you could tell they had history with each other prior to this.
Yeah,
movie.
You understand these guys have a camaraderie from working together before. You can tell that they've seen some shit, like when the Scottish guy. Even just as simple as, and one of the actor or whatever, he talks about, we're all fighting our own battles. Like we've essentially saying we've seen some shit. We all cope with it differently.
Yeah. He sees ghosts.
But like he's haunted by the people that he's killed.
Yeah, you would think of it. They did give him enough backstory to really, like, and the other guy just wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
And this is what he has to do just to kind of get by and
survive. Because he says, I'm the wrong, I think he says I'm the wrong color.
Yeah, and the other guy as well, Slipknot. He was all like, like there are wars, and this white person took my land and fought a war with us as well.
Yeah,
like it's not all
like
black
my
and white.
stance in this war, it doesn't exist because my war has been fought.
Exactly. Again, it comes down to it's not about people as a whole; it's individuals that make decisions in life.
And it's the little things. It's sort of like when after this little battle and it's kind of calm, with the Scottish characters singing and like at a bar, and they're like. I haven't heard him sing in years. It's just like that.
You could tell he was really moved by it as well.
Yeah, it's that moment of this character has had that moment of peace. Like where his demons have left him for a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Well, let's get on to what I think the thing DC movies failed the most in, other than fucking rat shit stories most of the time, is the CG. The really touch and go CG, because for the majority of the movie, they did keep back on a lot of the CG. I mean, it was obviously all CG, but not superhero Man of Steel CG. Yeah. And then as it gets towards the end of the movie, things start ramping up and more CG gets brought in, and that's when you kind of go, okay, now I'm watching a superhero movie.
Yeah.
And it's so just... Sometimes you're like, yeah! And other times it's like, ah.
See, what I found is there's a clear part where you're like, all right, at the end of the movie, when you walk out, you're like, all right, I know where the budget was spent. The majority of the budget was spent at the end because there was some questionable CG throughout the beginning. Just some of the characters and how they moved. Like some of them, you're like, oh, that was really quite clear. And then someone looks as if they were. I don't remember if you remember from Chamber of Secrets when Neville is on the broom and it goes up and then he falls down. Like it looks.
I think of when
really
the troll is in the Philosopher's Stone and Harry's on its back.
Yeah, that. It looks like that. Yeah. Like there were moments where that sort of human CG, person CG, where it's noticeably not up to scratch. And now in the world of like high definition, it's fucking way obvious when CG doesn't stand out, when it doesn't meet the mark. And there were moments of that. And then at the big boss, this is the thing you talked about before, obviously without big spoilers, but it does hold back on its destruction. So when the destruction does happen, it has a meaning and it doesn't feel wasted. So when you do get to the third act and there is this big boss fight, and things are exploding, like you feel there's some sort of stake in it, and obviously that's where they spend.
Plus, of course, the incredible speakers they have at Reading Cinema as well.
Oh man, I want to talk
Even
about
that wasn't even the Titans.
It's not even CG, but I want to talk about the score. Like the score in this was fucking great.
What did you think about the CG? Overall,
there were some, like at the start, the start sees her as a little girl, and I don't think that little girl was very good.
I thought she was fine, actually.
She was sufficient.
She looked like, I'm acting, Daddy.
And she
yes,
also,
you are.
you're clearly putting on an accent, like that kid's putting on a dumb accent.
Yeah, the poor girl had to do that accent that she has.
Yeah, I come and say I hate children actors, but she was fine, and I knew she was going to be going away soon, so I didn't think about it.
But there were some bits like where they're riding horses, and it's like I'm on a wind machine, and then it's a horse, or Steve Trevor's on the motorbike, or even the little girl like jumped off the
plane,
mountain.
like the plane CG. Oh yeah, like the jumping up the mountain
Or
CG.
she flying, and it's like, oh my god, cut
I'm
away.
like, have they not understood how to do those things in good CG yet?
I guess not.
Superman 1978 flying looked pretty good.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, there were a lot of those like you said, Gumby turns up and it's just plasticine people. Even when they were flipping at the start, a lot of the flips. But then the fight where it's in the trailers, where she fights all the people in the room, that looked incredible. Like it's ramped down, slowed down, then it was thing again. So I don't know if that was a stunt person. When she was hula hooping, it was Gumby like no tomorrow. The first time she did it and she was fighting with it, that looked horrible. But I forgave it because I was having such a good time. And it's like, okay, she's doing these things and that's how they portrayed it on screen. I get the idea that the things she's doing are cool. It looks a bit off, but I'm enjoying it so much that I don't really mind.
I think there was a little bit over gratuitous on the slow-mo during the fighting too.
Yeah,
because I enjoy fight scenes when they're quick and they're sharp and it's dun 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 dun, and then the occasional just.
But it wasn't like 300 levels. Slow
it wasn't.
motion,
No,
so.
not even close. But it just seemed like every maybe 5 seconds in a fight, it'd do that slow mo as there's a jump happening or as there's something happening.
But I think the slow mo added to the grandeur of the jump. Like, you know, once again, if it was her slow mo as she just like stabs a dude, it wouldn't be as effective. But when it's clearly to do a big and impressive thing, it's like it amplifies that a little bit.
I just felt there was maybe a little too much.
Yeah,
that's
towards
what
the
I'm
end,
saying.
it was definitely you are standing on a green screen by yourself.
Yeah,
big time.
And that's where BVS fell apart as well with Doomsday.
Is there anything we want to tackle before we get into our final thoughts?
Well, let's talk about the soundtrack. We missed that.
Oh man, the score is fantastic.
I had a bet with Dylan before the movie started how many times we'd hear a theme song though.
Like twice.
They saved it, man.
They did say they saved it so far into the movie. I was expecting to hear it, as soon as she put the gear
pulls
on.
out the sword.
Yeah. Or every time she put the gear on, or whatever. But no, they saved it, and so the times they did use it, it was like, and there it is, and it fucking works.
Like what for me, it was like when this sort of the backing orchestra would like swell. I love a good swell when it comes to like a sort of a score, and like when she starts wandering through the devastation of this town and these people, and she's like, well, I can't do anything. It's like. And like it really added to that emotion and that pain. You could feel the pain in the music, and it was really quite good. And then, like, granted, I don't really sort of remember like what the score was like during the big action scene, because I was visually distracted. Where all the other things, because they weren't as visually demanding, it allowed me to sort of take in that score more and really appreciate it. And I think that's probably the benefit to this, is not being as a visual noise like a Transformers, right? Like even the big final boss, like it allowed me to absorb more of the little nitty and gritty and like take in that music and sort of so good.
Oh, it's definitely like it was definitely a good soundtrack. Hopefully they put it out, actually.
Yeah, I'd probably want to listen to it.
I'd probably listen to it.
Speaking of scores.
Final thoughts,
nice,
Josh.
Man. It's the best movie DC has put out in their new universe by an extremely large margin on pretty much all fronts. Story, performances, CG, but they didn't use too much. But everyone nailed the performance. The story was so good because it was just contained to this one character and her story and her adventure alone, with the single focus on her. The music was great. A couple of twists in there. Did get the heartstrings a few times as well. So it's ticked pretty much every box. I'm just going to give it a solid 4.5 out of 5. As far as DC movies go, because the gap is so big, maybe I'm over-exaggerating. Maybe because I went in with such low expectations initially. But yeah, I can't see a reason not to give it 4 out of 5. To clarify that, normally in any movie that's longer than 2 hours, I'll get up and pee twice. Didn't go up at all. I couldn't get out of my seat to go pee.
Yeah, and like I noticed you were into it because you were sitting back, and then at some point you kind of sat forward and gone.
No, that's when I needed to pee.
Oh, okay.
I had to take the pressure off my bladder.
I thought it was just like you getting really into
Oh no,
the
but yeah, I was
movie.
getting into the
Look, I'm in the same boat. I think the movie was, as I said, it was fucking fantastic. It was the first words that came out of my mouth when the credits hit. But performances were solid. Yeah, as we've mentioned everything at this point, like the CG was kept such a minimum. It made everything seem more impactful. It's the most character driven piece the DCEU have done at this point, and if this is where the DCEU is going, then my faith is restored. Like my hope is back. It makes me hopeful to see where they go with this now. Shit, even the opening credits when they like just showed the DC logo and they did this cool little cartoon.
Is that the first time they've done that?
That's the first time they've
used
used
reminded
that.
me of the Justice League animated series.
It was beautiful, and it was beautiful, and it got me hyped a little bit for DC.
It's like
things.
Marvel's little side thing.
Rather than just Warner Brothers, DC movie. It's like had a little cool flashy bits, and it showed a bunch all the characters we know that are coming, and then Green Lantern at the end, like, and it looked like also the Jeff Johns Justice League.
Yeah,
and that
like
got me
old school.
It's like
that got me
kind of
wet
like
again.
a claymation kind of a feel to it.
It's sort of an animatic comic sort of feel. Yeah, it was really
really
good.
cool.
The movie was solid. I'm in the same boat as you, 4.5 out of 5. I went into this movie really cynical and really not expecting a lot to come out of it, and I got absolutely blown away.
Yeah, I think they should, like I was saying earlier, just start it again. Start with Wonder Woman. Yes, she was in Batman vs Superman, whatever. She's starting with Wonder Woman, do a new Batman movie, do a new Superman movie, then do Justice League later. Just scrap Justice League. Nobody wants to see it. But I would say, a 4 or a 4.5. I don't know if I'm DC hating and I don't want to give it a 4.5. It's pretty high.
Hey,
but I would definitely,
dude.
if you're like somebody's like, oh, I'm not really into superhero movies, I think it's a good starter superhero movie. Iron Man, Wonder Woman. Watch these two. This will get you into superhero movies that are easy to kind of get into and doesn't really have too much superhero-y stuff in it to be like rolling your eyes because they're fighting a light beam in the sky.
Well, it had a similar vibe to the first Captain America movie in a way.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot of
Sun
parallels.
Simply because of the setting of the war,
Yeah.
of the early war.
That's right. And there were Steves in it.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend people going to see. If you got even any inkling of interest, I'd go and check it out. Especially for young girls, people with kids, people with daughters. I'd suggest that.
Saw a few youngish girls coming out the screening before us, with their mums, 8, 9, 10. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And that's something amazing to see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really amazing to see.
Mums and daughters seeing a superhero movie together, it's fucking awesome.
Well, just
I
in
love it.
case you're leaving now, thank you very much for sticking around. I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Josh Saunders.
I'm Dylan Blood.
We are the PopCulturists, and this is our review discussion of Wonder Woman. If you like what you saw, all the social media deets are in below. We're now on Patreon, patreon.com/thepopculturists. If you like what you saw and want to give us a bit of money, you're welcome to. Facebook group, all the other things, spoil.